Welcome to my channel Alien Signal. The first message from the Galactic Empire arrived on a Tuesday. It came wrapped in gold. Not literally gold, of course, but the transmission carried a decorative lattice of shimmering mathematics, spirals of prime numbers and harmonic ratios that suggested elegance, superiority, and an unmistakable desire to impress. Every observatory on Earth lit up at once. Radio telescopes in Chile, orbital receivers circling above the Pacific, deep space arrays stationed near Mars, they all picked up the same signal. The message decoded itself. That was the first unsettling part. A cascade of symbols rearranged into every human language simultaneously. Mandarin, English, Hindi, Swahili, Portuguese, even long-dead dialects archived in linguistic databases. The words were simple. You are hereby annexed. The broadcast continued. We are the Galactic Empire, it declared in a resonant, measured tone. Your species has been observed. Your technological threshold qualifies you for formal assimilation. Resistance is statistically insignificant. Compliance will ensure your continued biological utility. The message ended with a star map highlighting Earth in crimson. There was a silence across the planet that lasted exactly 12 seconds. Then someone laughed. It started in a control room at the International Deep Space Coalition headquarters in Geneva. A junior analyst, sleep-deprived, overcaffeinated, snorted before he could stop himself. "I'm sorry," he said, clapping a hand over his mouth. Biological utility. That broke the tension. Within seconds, nervous chuckles rippled through the room. On live streams across the world, translators stifled smiles. On social media, the message was clipped, remixed, subtitled with sarcastic commentary. Annexed. Humanity had just been threatened by a cosmic empire, and the internet had already turned it into a meme. By the end of the hour, biological utility was trending globally. Someone edited the Empire's majestic star map into a pizza delivery route. Another overlaid the announcement with circus music. Late-night hosts delivered monologues before governments had even issued formal responses. When the Secretary-General of the United Nations finally stepped to the podium, she struggled not to grin. "We acknowledge receipt of the Galactic Empire's communication," she said carefully. "We are currently evaluating our biological utility." The press room erupted in laughter. Across space, the Empire watched. The Galactic Empire had ruled a spiral arm of the Milky Way for 8,000 years. They were not accustomed to laughter. Their civilization was vast and ancient, built on conquest so efficient it had become administrative routine. Most species surrendered upon first contact. Those who resisted were subdued within weeks. The Empire's doctrine relied not merely on firepower but on psychological dominance. They announced themselves as inevitable. They displayed fleets large enough to blot out stars. They spoke with the authority of history. Fear, in their experience, was universal. When Earth's response reached the Imperial capital, a colossal ringworld encircling a white-blue sun, the high strategist was baffled. The transmission they received was not a surrender. It was a compilation. Clips of human broadcasts. Satirical cartoons depicting Imperial warships as inflatable toys. A pop song remixed with the Empire's solemn declaration, set to an upbeat dance track. The high strategist replayed the segment where a human child, interviewed outside a school, giggled and said, "If they want to annex us, do they have to pay our student loans?" The Imperial court stared in horrified silence. "Are they deranged?" asked one advisor. The Emperor, a towering being encased in iridescent armor, narrowed multifaceted eyes. "No," the Emperor said slowly. "They are unafraid." 3 days later, the Empire escalated. A fleet exited hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Hundreds of ships unfolded like metallic flowers, their hulls shimmering with weapon arrays capable of cracking planets. They positioned themselves near Jupiter, a visible reminder of overwhelming force. Telescopes captured the spectacle in stunning clarity. Earth broadcast it live. Dramatic orchestral music accompanied the footage. Commentators compared the fleet to scenes from old science fiction films. Someone added animated googly eyes to the flagship. The Empire transmitted again. You will cease your mockery. Prepare representatives for formal submission. The United Nations responded with a carefully crafted message. Dear Galactic Empire, thank you for your interest in annexing Earth. Unfortunately, we are currently experiencing technical difficulties related to existential dread. Please hold. The message concluded with a looping tune suspiciously similar to elevator music. Within the Imperial court, outrage simmered. This species does not comprehend its peril, the High Strategist insisted. Authorize a demonstration strike. The Emperor hesitated. For 8,000 years, fear had been the Empire's sharpest weapon. It preceded fleets. It softened resistance. It saved resources. But humanity's reaction had disrupted that formula. Fear had been replaced by something far more destabilizing. Mockery. Still, doctrine prevailed. A single Imperial cruiser detached from the fleet and targeted an uninhabited asteroid in the Kuiper Belt. A beam of coherent stellar energy lanced across space. The asteroid disintegrated in a silent burst. The Empire transmitted footage of the destruction. Earth's response came within minutes. Nice special effects, a popular streamer commented. But can it run crisis? Memes proliferated faster than the Empire could catalog them. The High Strategist felt something unfamiliar stir beneath layered armor. Uncertainty. Humanity's leaders were not ignorant of the danger. Behind closed doors, generals analyzed Imperial formations. Physicists studied energy signatures. Engineers raced to accelerate dormant defense projects. But publicly, humanity laughed. It wasn't denial. It was defiance. For centuries, humans had coped with fear through humor. World wars, plagues, natural disasters, each catastrophe had birthed jokes alongside grief. Laughter was not proof of ignorance. It was proof of resilience. The Empire had expected trembling broadcasts and desperate pleas. Instead, they found a species that responded to existential threat the way it responded to everything else. By turning it into a story. A joke. A challenge. Weeks passed. The Imperial fleet maintained position near Jupiter. They intercepted human transmissions constantly. Billions of signals, an endless flood of commentary, satire, and creative reinterpretation of the Empire's grandiose rhetoric. The High Strategist ordered psychological analysis. What motivates them? The Emperor demanded. Imperial scholars studied human history. They observed revolutions sparked by oppressive rulers. They catalogued art born from suffering. They examined the peculiar human tendency to anthropomorphize danger and then parody it. One scholar spoke hesitantly before the court. Your radiance, laughter diminishes authority. It reframes the powerful as absurd. If they can laugh at us, they are not conquered in spirit. The chamber fell silent. For the first time in Imperial history, conquest had become embarrassing. Then humanity did something unexpected. They sent a ship. It was not a warship. It bore no visible weapons. Its hull was patchwork, components from multiple nations fused into a single vessel. Painted across its side, in enormous letters, were the words, Biological Utility 1. The ship approached the Imperial fleet slowly, broadcasting a live feed to Earth. Inside sat a crew of 12 humans representing different cultures and disciplines. Scientists, comedians, diplomats. Yes, comedians. When the ship reached a designated meeting point, the Empire dispatched a shuttle to escort it aboard the flagship. The meeting was transmitted across the solar system. The Emperor loomed at the far end of a vast chamber. Human representatives stood small beneath vaulted ceilings of alien metal. You stand before the Galactic Empire, the Emperor intoned. Your species persists in disrespect. Explain yourselves. A human diplomat stepped forward. With respect, Your Radiance, she began, glancing briefly at her notes, we find your proposal confusing. Confusing. You announced our annexation without negotiation. That's generally considered rude where we're from. A ripple of suppressed laughter echoed through the human crew. The Emperor's gaze hardened. You mistake mercy for rudeness. We offer survival. One of the comedians raised a hand. Quick question, he said. If we're annexed, do we get Imperial holidays? Dental. Several Imperial guards shifted uneasily. The Emperor did not understand the words, but tone translated clearly. Mockery. Your levity is misplaced, the Emperor warned. We command star systems. Your defenses are negligible. The human scientist spoke next. We don't doubt your power. We've seen the asteroid footage. Impressive yield. But power isn't the same as control. The high strategist interjected. We control thousands of species. Through fear, the scientist replied gently. But fear only works if the target accepts your narrative. We don't. The chamber grew colder. You will accept reality, the Emperor said. The diplomats smiled faintly. We already have. The reality is that you're bigger, older, stronger, but you're not gods. And you're not inevitable. She gestured subtly to a hovering drone projecting Earth's live reaction. Billions watched, not in terror, but in fascination. You can destroy us, she continued. But you can't rule what refuses to kneel in spirit. And if you annihilate us for laughing, every other species you govern will see that fear is all you have. The high strategist stiffened, because it was true. The Empire's legitimacy rested on inevitability. On the myth of unchallengeable authority. A species that laughed in the face of that myth was dangerous. Back on Earth, engineers worked quietly. Humanity had analyzed the Imperial fleet's hyperspace signatures. Patterns emerged. Frequencies repeated. Weaknesses hinted at. Laughter bought time. Time to adapt. Time to innovate. Time to prepare contingencies the Empire had not anticipated. The Emperor considered options. Annihilation would silence the mockery, but confirm vulnerability to ridicule. Other subjugated species might question Imperial dominance. Dissent could spread. Annexation without compliance would require prolonged occupation. Costly. Resource draining. The high strategist proposed a compromise. Impose tribute, they suggested. Maintain distance. Label them an autonomous protectorate. Preserve face. The Emperor studied the humans standing unbowed in the chamber. You gamble on our restraint, the Emperor said. The diplomat met the alien gaze. No, she replied softly. We gamble on your pride. Silence stretched. Then, unexpectedly, a sound emerged from the Imperial throne. A low, unfamiliar vibration. The Emperor was attempting to laugh. It came out, distorted, metallic, but unmistakable. You are inconvenient, the Emperor admitted. Very well. Humanity will retain provisional autonomy under Imperial observation. Tribute terms to be negotiated. Cheers erupted across Earth. The Imperial fleet began to withdraw from Jupiter. Not defeated, but altered. Years later, historians would debate what truly happened that day. Some argued that humanity's hidden defenses had forced the Empire's hand. Others believed internal Imperial politics played a decisive role. But most agreed on one point. Laughter had changed the equation. The Galactic Empire still ruled vast territories. Humanity still existed in its shadow. Trade agreements replaced threats. Cultural exchanges followed cautious diplomacy. And somewhere in the Imperial capital, scholars continued studying the peculiar human weapon that required no energy source, no ammunition. Mockery. Because the Empire had learned something fundamental. Fear can conquer worlds. But laughter, Laughter makes empires human, and that, in the end, was far more dangerous. On Earth, the phrase, biological utility, became a badge of honor. It adorned spacecraft hulls and research stations. It was printed on shirts, etched into monuments, whispered with pride. When children studied the day the Empire arrived, teachers emphasized not the fleet near Jupiter, nor the beam that shattered an asteroid. They emphasized the 12 seconds of silence. And the laugh that followed. Because in those 12 seconds, humanity had faced the infinite, and chosen not to tremble. They had chosen to laugh. And the galaxy would never forget it. Thank you for listening. Subscribe for more cinematic science fiction stories.